Now we're back again with Irwin Collier, economics professor at Berlin's Free University. Let's talk about trust. This NSA spying scandal, a lot of Germans took that very personal. How did it go down with Americans?
On the whole, Americans are surprised perhaps at Germany's surprise that we live in a world where all of this information is flowing around and that there is a great interest in this. So perhaps the American reaction was, where was the counterintelligence that we thought our partners had more and better counterintelligence? Now, the fact is, the United States should have certainly said, Ms. Merkel, your telephone is not a secure place to conduct conversations. That would have been the proper way to handle such a problem.
Is this reaction because the Americans are more carefree when it comes to their own data? Google Street View had quite some problems here in Germany, not so in the US.
Absolutely. And Google sends, high-ranking delegations, not just to Germany, but to Brussels, to try to smooth the feathers. Perhaps one of the differences is simply in the United States, one tries to figure out how to clean up after mistakes. And in Germany, it's so much more oriented towards planning not to have mistakes.
Planning ahead is very important. I mean, trust also comes into those transatlantic free trade, this partnership there. Is it, does Washington communicate to its citizens in a different way than Berlin does?
I think what's more important, we're putting this too much Germany rather than Germans within Europe. And within the United States, there's a great distrust of what's happening in Washington. Somehow people think Washington is not looking out for the interest of the U.S. citizens. Similarly, in Germany, we're seeing now this big distrust. When there are negotiations between Washington, D.C. and Brussels, somehow this is not something we're at the table. They're making decisions behind our backs or over our heads. And I think it's a fundamental question of legitimacy in these large political institutions. I think that's what we're seeing, rather than a distrust between Germans and Americans.
Right, but given those differences, briefly, where does the US, where does Germany see eye to eye?
Where do we see eye to eye? The fundamental commitment, I think where we saw it was that moment of German unification, where a simple event after many years occurs, and the spontaneous reaction of the President of the United States was reflected in the population of, that's good news.
And the sense of freedom.
The sense of freedom.
Holding freedom high. Irwin Collier, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Pleasure.